I liked war more when I was a child. I know that sounds like some like Theo Von shit, right? It sounds like some real random funny shit, but it's true. When I was a kid, I loved war. Not literal war, obviously, I was a child, but like anything that was war related, right? Like Green Army Men. We used to go to the dollar store, A, because I was poor, and B, because you used to get this giant plastic bag filled with green little army men, and it was like $1, and you can bring them home and there'll be fucking army men everywhere in the ceilings and the crevices of the walls because it was just spread all around my house. And I would sit there and I would pretend like, they're all shooting each other and killing each other. And it's kind of bizarre, right? To be like, oh, little kids role playing murder, essentially, right? If you really break it down. But that's always been a part of, like, I can't speak for another country, but that's always been a part of American culture. Like when you think of back then, at least, not so much now. I feel like war is looked at much unfavorably now than it was when I was growing up. When I was growing up, uh, it was, I believe, during the Cold. I was born in '85. I think the Cold War was happening. I'm not even sure, and I just learned that because I'm not a military aficionado or anything like that. Like I'm saying, now that I'm older, when I was a kid, I watched a lot of like army movies that like enamored me, and then army like movies aren't necessarily in the army. They're in the army category, but not necessarily army films, at least realistic biopics or anything like that, like Starship Troopers, for example, right? It's a military type movie, but it's against giant bugs. One of the greatest action movies of all time, by the way, still holds up till today. Yeah, it's a little cheesy, but all in all, I watched it a few months ago and I was like, this movie still holds up, man. Starship Troopers, you need to see that, go see it. I'm sure there's been an influx in watching Starship Trooper because of Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 is one of those games that honestly I thought was trendy and wasn't gonna last long because trendy typically doesn't equate to staying power. It's just trendy for the moment and then it disappears into obscurity. But Helldivers checks out. I haven't played it, but from the videos that I've seen and the friends that I have that played it, it checks out. I'm like, that game's fucking cool. And not only that, it's also a PvE game. And I feel like, remember when they used to make those all the time? Now I feel like all the games people play are PvP games. I'm not hating, just an observation. Even though I do have my opinions about that, it's good to see PvE games at the top of the Steam most played list, right? Top three, I believe. Arma, finally, right? After fucking 3 minutes of me talking shit. Arma Reforger and Arma 3. I'm super late to the party, right? Like I said, when I was a kid, I was more into wars. I grew up not so much. I started to see lots of things that I don't agree with within politics, and there's been lots of military operations and just straight up wars that were instigated by the United States or at least the United States took part of that I don't necessarily agree. Now, I'm not anti-military and I'm not anti-war. Like these, I look at people who are in the military as genuine brave souls. I do, and I think that the military itself, personally, I think it's a necessary evil. Now, I'm not saying that the military is evil. It's a metaphor. It's a necessary evil. It's like owning a gun for protection. It's like I don't want to use this gun, and I hope I never use this gun, but I am gonna keep it just in case somebody breaks in my house or I have to defend myself from grievous bodily harm. Grievous or grievous? One of those two. Whatever. What I'm saying is I don't I view the military as they're brave and I view them as like police officers. I view them as brave officers because I wouldn't do that job. I wouldn't put my life on the line for money or, for glory or for whatever you decide to sign up to be a police officer. I don't know if that sentence didn't make any grammatical sense. Whatever your goal is when you sign up to be a police officer, whether it's financial gain, whether it's a glory, whether it's anything else, etc. I don't. Yes, they're asshole cops. Agreed. Many, many. I've encountered asshole cops, but I also encountered good cops. You know what I mean? So it's like I can't. Same thing with military, right? It's like, oh yeah, well, all they do is murder other people. They invade countries, and yeah, there's some truth to that, but that's not the full truth. The truth is that, like, even you can be the most peaceful man in the world, right? But other people aren't. So you're just gonna let just because you're peaceful, you think other people are gonna be peaceful. You think that they're not just gonna come and try to hurt you or hurt your loved ones. What are you gonna do? Talk to them? What about when talking fails? You want a cop. You want somebody in the military, right? So it is a necessary evil in a long scheme of things. So the fuck does this have to do with video games? I'm getting heavy here. Arma. Arma, like I said, when I was a kid, I loved military stuff. As I got older, not so much, right? So I never thought I'd get into a military simulator at my age now, which is close to 40. I never was a big fan of military games, especially like military, because most of them are like PvP games. And my stance with PvP, I think I've made that clear. It's like I don't have a problem with PvP. I just feel like for me, it gets boring quick after about an hour or two of playing any PvP game. Name it. Battlefield, Call of Duty, Valorant, Counter Strike, Overwatch. I was about to say Counter Strike again. All these games, fun games, but like for me, Danny, me personally, I get bored. I'm not attacking you guys' games. Some people get very tribal. Fuck you, dude. Call of Duty is where it's at. Actually, no, Arma is where it's at. That's where I'm getting at. So, yes, I don't know too much about Arma. I got into Arma 3 super late. Like I got into Arma 3 maybe last year or 2 years ago. I don't remember when I bought it, but it's not. I missed I can't say I missed the boat because Army 3 is still thriving 11 years later, right? I think 2013. I can't believe I had to do the math on that. Yeah. 11 years later, Arma 3 is still thriving. Is it old? Fuck yeah. It's the controls ancient? Fuck yeah. Is it janky? Fuck yeah. Is the engine outdated? Fuck yeah. Is it still a quality, solid game with incredible depth to the point where I'm not exaggerating or being dramatic? Arma 3 might just be the most deepest complex game I've ever played in my life. And it's a shooter. Oh, well, it's just not that. You can't reduce Arma 3 to just a shooter. It's much more than that. It's strategic command. It's What I'm saying is Arma at first originally I thought that it was a game for anyone who's in like military personnel, PMCs. I learned what that phrase was because of Tarkov, private military contractors. I'm proud of myself. And like high level security guards or even low level security guards, whether you work for a Fortune 500 company as a security guard or you work at a Walmart security guard. Anybody who's into some sort of enforcement, law enforcement or whatever, like I thought that games like Arma and Squad, all of these military simulators, like that's for them. It's not for me. I'm a casual. I don't know anything about guns, dude. I'm gonna buy a gun soon. Actually, I'm thinking about a Glock. Anyone who's a gun aficionado out there, legally, of course. I'm not gonna fucking have an illegal gun, just in case anyone's wondering. Um, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, I never owned a gun. I shot a gun one time at a range, for a few hours. Different types of guns, AR-15. It was fucking scary as hell, but it was also fun. And I do believe that owning a gun is a necessary thing and also a necessary skill to learn. Just like I feel like self-defense is a necessary skill. Like you should learn how to at least defend yourself a bit. And take it from me. I don't take no boxing classes or anything like that. I don't really know much. So I'm also speaking for myself too. Like I need to get into that too. I don't do it. I'm not into right now. I don't own a gun and I'm not into some sort of like in some sort of martial arts or whatever. Basically, what I'm saying is I should take my own advice, but I do believe that those are things. I'm sounding like a fucking like a crazy like Republican that lives in a compound and like cans his own food and prepares for the apocalypse. Sorry if I'm sounding like that. Um, but I thought Arma was a game where it was just for specific people, but it's not. It really isn't. It's a game for people who enjoy a hard-earned victory. It's not a run and gun where you are some sort of one-man army and you have a gun that has like infinite, it has a magazine that has infinite ammo and you can walk inside of a town and kill 30 people just by yourself. Arma's not like that. You know, you can do that if you're fucking good, because and like good. I mean, because this game, since it's a realistic simulator, it could take just one shot to kill you. You can get one shot because that's what would happen in real life, right? Like, this is the way it is. Um, yeah, for people like me, I'm just a outsider, man. I felt like I was a small fish in a giant pond, and it felt good to know that there are people out there that play military simulators that aren't into military lingo, or that I don't know anything about squads, formation, patrols, ranks. I don't know anything about that. I'm just jumping in because I like the complexity. I like the realism. You know, I'm quite frankly, I'm sick and tired of playing video games where I'm some sort of a one-man army superhero. Like that, don't get me wrong, those games are still fucking fun, dude. But it becomes repetitive and boring, right? Like how many open world games out there today where they follow the same goddamn formula, right? I'll name a few. Once again, these games that I'm about to name, they're all awesome games. A lot of them I've played and I've enjoyed. But they do follow that formula of like you keep leveling up and you ranking up and you just become a god. You essentially become a god, and it's not necessarily realistic. You know, I understand that it is video games. Video games in a general sense aren't realistic, but like games like Horizon Zero Dawn, Cyberpunk 2077, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Far Cry, Ghost Recon Wildlands, Breaking Point, one of those two, Battlefield. A lot of these games, the hero shooters, you know, like Overwatch, I think it's Overwatch or Apex Legends, one of those two, you know. They're all games where you get stronger and you just conquer entire forces by yourself, and it's fucking fun, dude. It's addicting, high octane fun. Injected straight into your veins. But on the other end, it's like I want to feel vulnerable, right? No one wants to feel vulnerable when they play video games, right? They want to feel like they have a fighting chance. They want to keep killing people because that's what fuels them to keep playing. If they keep dying, they're going to lose interest and move on, right? That's okay. There exist people out there like me. I know I'm in the minority here. I'm very aware of that, but like I want games where I can die quickly the same way they can die quickly, right? Like realistic games, and this brings me to Arma, right? I fell in love with the complexity and the commanding and the fact that you got to work hard for your victory. It doesn't come easy. And I'm still learning. I am by no way, shape, or form even good, you know. And the game that I'm mostly playing now, I'm switching between Arma 3 and Arma Reforger, but I'm mostly playing Reforger, right? Yes, I know, wasn't critically acclaimed when it first came out, and right now it is still lacking a lot of content. But there's a diamond in there, man, to the point where my friend, she likes it too, right? Which is weird because it's like we come from like Dead Side. If you've played Dead Side, it's semi-realistic, you know, but it's a lot more easier for you to one man it and take over a whole town if you position yourself correctly. And you know, you can walk into town and just use cover and kill mostly everyone, right? You can do that in Arma too, but it's a lot more harder, a lot more trickier. Because there's more mechanics involved. There's, you know, stamina involved. There's, you know, accuracy, you know, bullet drop, you know, what type of weapon you're using, what kind of armor do they have, you know, what kind of ammunition are you using? Like, there's so many variables that you have to take into account. It's not just point a gun and shoot. So Dead Side is kind of point a gun and shoot. There are realistic aspects to it, but for the most part, it's very arcadey, right? You can still eat, and you know, I think there is bullet drop and all that in Dead Side, but Dead Side's a fucking fun game also. Cool game. Suffering the same thing Arma is, which is they're both awesome games, but like Arma Reforger at least. Arma Reforger and Dead Side both suffer from the same thing, which is like great games held back by lack of content. And of course, they're not perfect. There's some jank. There are some bugs. I've experienced some. Yesterday, I was playing in a server where I was randomly dying. Like I was just getting. I don't know if it was an NPC that was like invisible, or an AI that was invisible, but I was getting. I was dying with no one around, no gunshot sounds, nothing. I was just walking. It looked like I had a heart attack. And next thing I was bleeding and I had to like bandage myself and I was like, what the fuck is going on? But anyways, those are bugs, right? And these are on official servers. There's still a lot of ironing out that needs to be done. Ironing out, wrinkling out those bugs, getting rid of those bugs, probably a better term. That's gonna keep going for years, even after Arma gets enough content. That's just that's part of a video game, right? So Reforger, I have a lot of cool things to say about it just because it's my first military simulator where I'm all in. I'm like I really enjoy this game and like I said my friend, she normally likes games that are she likes shooters, but she likes, arcadey like shooters. Like she was a big Counter-Strike person. So for her to really like Reforger makes me happy because it's a game that's difficult. It's a difficult game, but it's like it's rewarding once you get everything working. And not only that, the multiplayer aspect to it, like we play combat ops. We don't really do PvP. So we play combat ops and it's like small little operations in Reforger where you can team up with people. People can drop in, drop out. That's my style. I'm like, yeah, this is it. This is what I like doing because people can leave, people can come, and most of the time you don't really get too many of the diehards, call me sir. And, this is the enemy is located at 420 17 clicks away. Like I nothing against that. I think it's cool that people actually know military lingo, right? Because a lot of them are actual military personnel or former military personnel or veterans or whatever. But I'm not in it for that. Like I feel like if you're playing on the official server, you have to understand that not everyone is going to agree to that. If you're playing on your own server, then fine, you can make up as many rules as you want. But like if you're on the official server, I try to not really game with those people that are very gung ho and die hard about, military lingo and so forth. I only encountered one person like that so far, and he wasn't even that bad. He wasn't really annoying. He was just telling me, stop pointing your gun at me, and he didn't say it like that. He was just like, "This is how you not point your gun." He's like, "This is how you, don't run all the time. You waste a lot of." So he was kind of giving me instructions on things. I didn't take it as him being an asshole, but I did take it as like I can see how someone else would be annoyed by that. I wasn't because I was like, okay, he actually taught me some tips, which I still use till today. So that little that little interaction we had was valuable. It was just I know that it's not everyone's cup of tea, and someone else would be annoyed. They'd be like, "Fuck you, dude! I'm just gonna play this game the way I want." I get it. I get that too. But for me, I was annoyed. It's a skill-based game. There is no XP. There is no unlocking skins. There is, and I'm not bashing that. I actually like that. There's a high you get right when you're like you finish a cool mission, whether it's against AI, whether it's against players, and then at the end on the screen, the debriefing screen or whatever you call it, after you finish a match or a session or whatever, you get shit right. You see little meters go up. You see little meters fill up. You see little numbers go up. You hear clicky sound effects and crates open up and shit. And you're like, oh man, that's like a high, right? It's like gambling. You're like, cool, man, I unlocked the skin. I'm never going to use it, but still, like, it's cool that I've unlocked it. It's good to know that it's there. That's really cool. I like that. I kind of wish Arma had a system like that. Not unlocking skins, not, having guys running around in, Christmas outfits, in the middle of the battlefield. Like, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying like unlock maybe experience, and then with that experience, maybe you can get, I don't know, some sort of reward, something that's a little more mil sim, right? A little something that's a little more military, not necessarily guns neither. You know what I mean? But like, I don't know, man. Maybe attachments or I don't know. But I feel like there is a certain coolness. There's a certain video gamey, arcadey, satisfying feeling about unlocking shit. And it also gives you incentive to play. But Arma's not like that. Arma's like fuck all that. This is like real life. Like or at least that's close to real life as you can get, because there's still a lot of questionable decisions that like Arma Reforger has that I'm like, what the fuck? Um, yeah, like mortars, for example. I feel like that's something that should have been added from the beginning. Like when everyone thinks of like a old school war, they think of mortars, right? Is it mortars or mortars? Whatever, those fucking tubes that shoot explosives in the sky and murder everyone when it lands, right? Like that should have been from the gate, man. Like that, you know what I mean? Like that should. But that's a small. Excuse me. That's a small complaint. I don't have much to say about that. It's fun to know that there is a rewarding aspect to really hard games, right? Because it's skill based, meaning that you can only get better if you play the game. There is no skill trees, there is no aim assistance, there is no scanning, there is no marked enemy AI. Although in Arma 3 there is, though, which I understand because Arma 3 takes place in modern times and Arma Reforger takes place in 1989, so there is no GPS. You have to actually learn how to read a map, which is still fucking difficult to do, by the way. I get lost all the time. I'm getting better though. There is no high tech weaponry. Although weaponry is solid and good, you got a lot of good weaponry, a lot of good vehicles that are solid, but nothing is high tech. There really is no GPS. There is no heat seeking missiles. There is none of that. Satellites, as far as I know, there isn't any. I know there's radio towers, but I don't know about satellites or anything. Or maybe those are satellites. I don't know, man. I don't know anything about military shit. I just like to shoot shit and I like to get better while I'm shooting shit. So this is a game that you get rewarded in a different way other than XP or unlocking skins or guns or attachments. This is a game where you get rewarded. The more you play, the better you'll get at shooting. The better you'll get at determining enemy positions. The better you get at when to throw a grenade, when to retreat, when to push. Like you will know the more you play. It's like getting real combat experience. Not the same thing, obviously. Real combat experience is actually you putting your physical life in danger. I meant like whenever you play Armor Reforger, your reward is like today I'm just gonna learn. It's you have to be a student. So basically you have to dedicate time into games like Armor 3 and Armor Reforger. And I'm mostly speaking about Reforger because I haven't played too much of 3, although I do like 3. And honestly, one of the biggest reasons I don't play 3, even though it's chock full of content and it's still very valid to play today, is just that it's an 11-year-old game, and it's like it's time to move on. And I understand. I feel like Reforger is going to be, it's only going to get better from this point on. I'm sure they're going to have hiccups like every other video game publisher or developer, right? They're going to have updates that aren't so great, and then they're going to have updates that are awesome. Let's just hope that they keep an upward trend, right? Let's hope that they keep coming out with updates that we necessarily need. The last update for Reforger was this Combat Ops Everon or Ireland. I think it's Everon. I get the two islands mixed up. Awesome, added cool guns, added more. They tweaked the AI and cool outfits, cool little scenario. It's a little harder than Everon. Did I get that right? Yeah, it's a little harder, but it's cool. Like it's you play as like this resistance soldier or whatever, and then you have to complete objectives with your other resistance soldiers, friends and stuff. It's really cool. I can't wait to see more content on this. It's Armor Reforged is still weird to me. I don't know what's gonna happen when Arma 4 comes out or when. We don't know if it's gonna be. I have a feeling Armor Reforged is not gonna come out for quite a few years, but like, and I know when Armor 4 comes out, most likely it's just gonna absorb Armor Reforger and whatever it's in Armor Reforger, all the assets, guns, missions, everything would be absorbed into Arma 4, and I guess they'll build from there. But I don't know what they're doing right now. I don't know if they're working on Arma 4 and also working on Reforger. Like they're both, like they're splitting their time and going in between both. Like, I don't know I don't know what's going on, but I can't wait for this game and the future of it. I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and I want to keep playing it because it is a skill based game, and it it checks a box. Like it just scratches this itch in my brain where it's like, oh, if I want to get good at this game, that's up to me. That's not up to some sort of skill tree or some sort of assistance that I'm getting from someone. It's like I gotta get good, and you will get good. And I've played with people who are good and they don't die the entire session. I'm like, how the fuck don't you? I died 8, 10 times, 12 times. How did you not die? Or they died like twice. They killed 57 enemies and they died twice. I'm like, holy shit, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how's that even possible? I want to get like that. I want to get good to the point where I'm like, I already know positions. I know when to push, when to retreat. I said this earlier. The game itself is definitely not for everybody. I feel like the entry level, the it's the It's not for a casual player. I feel like a casual player can jump into Reforger and with a little bit of assistance end up enjoying it. But if they just jump in with no assistance and then just start running and gunning without going to training, without, learning about zeroing and all of this other stuff, crouching to stabilize your aim, not running all the time, draining your stamina so you won't your hands won't be shaky when you shoot. If they just go in there and they're going to be very discouraged because they're going to get shot the fuck up in ages. They're not going to know where the sounds are coming from. They're not going to know what kind of fire. Like right now, I'm playing this game to the point where I can tell if someone's like using like a pistol or automatic gunfire. I know that's not hard to determine to a lot of people. It's like a pistol's not as the rounds don't come out as fast as like pistol rounds, right? Like automatic gunfire versus like semi-automatic, you can tell which one's which. But that's a big thing for me because I never really paid attention to that. I would just hear gunshot and I'll go like, "Oh, gunshot." That's it. That's how I categorized it. But now I'm actually thinking like, "Oh, that's a pistol or that's an assault rifle or that's a machine gun." Like, what the fuck? Like I'm turning into a fucking little keyboard soldier over here. It's kind of cool. Like I don't know. And like I said, it's hard to recommend. I have friends that I would love to play this with, right? But I can't just go, hey, man, go buy Reforger because they're going to hate me, man. And I'm like, you made me spend, what is it, $30 now? You made me spend $30 on a game I'm probably not going to play a game. It's too fucking hard. I understand that. That's why it's like, I can't recommend it. I have to like butter you up before you play it. I have to be like, hey, man, it's going to be hard. You're going to die a lot and you're going to need to play this game for quite a while in order to at least get decent. Not good, decent. That doesn't sound great. Like it's not a great sales pitch, you know? It's hard to go back to Arma 3 once you play Reforger because it's like the movement is so smooth, the gunplay feels magnificent. Graphics are breathtaking, even though, you know, you know what? Fuck that. I would say this is one of the best looking games I've seen in years. I'm over here. I said even though, and I was gonna say something negative about it, but I'm like, it's hard for me to think graphic in the graphics department. Let me clarify. I can't really think anything graphically. Maybe nighttime. Nighttime is so fucking dark you can't see shit. It's a little annoying and frustrating, but like I guess that's the way it was back then, right? You just gotta know. Just gotta have fucking eagle eyes. I don't know. Everyone keeps saying bump the contrast up, and I'm like, no, no, no. To me, that's cheating. It's probably not to you. Some guy, some guy, and there was an article that I was reading. It said at nighttime you should bump up the gamma so you can see better at night because in real life your eyes will adjust to the darkness. You can't. Your eyes won't adjust to the darkness in a video game in front of a computer screen. There's no way your eyes can do that, as far as I know. But like he said or some shit like that. So even he thought like, man, it kind of sounds like bullshit, which I thought was kind of funny. But I'm just roughing it out. I'm not adjusting shit. I'm dying all the time at night because I don't know where the gunfire is coming from. AI can spot you way quicker at night than you can spot them. I feel like I'll have a better time surviving with players at nighttime than with AI. But it's thrilling, and it's right now it's pretty bare bones Reforger, but bare bones will eventually grow some meat. And this is not a game I see them abandoning. Well, they're not gonna abandon Arma, so you don't have to worry about that shit. If Arma 3 is still getting new updates 11 years later, I know Reforger will. And even if Reforger gets absorbed into Arma 4 and there is no more Reforger and there's just Arma 4 now, you know that you're in good hands when it comes to updates, right? And content. So regardless if it's Reforger or Arma 4, you're gonna be fine as long as you have the Armor franchise in your, or at least the newest. Armor 3 or Armor 4. As long as you have it in your library, you're good with contents. As far as like the marketing tactics, well, maybe not the marketing tech. That's not the right word to use. As far as like when it comes to money, basically, like what's going to happen with Reforger? Is it going to get absorbed? Or you have to buy Armor 4, which I'm almost certainly sure you will have to do. I understand that Reforger is a tech demo essentially, right? It's glorified. There's still, I think it's a lot more than that, but it is a tech demo at the end of the day, right? It's not a full featured game. It's more just like an engine. You test it out. And some people have a problem with that. Some people feel like, we're essentially the quality assurance testers, and we're not even getting paid for it. We're actually paying the company to test the game, which is kind of brilliant in a marketing sense if you look at it that way. Or you can look at it as like, I love Arma and I want to support Arma and I don't mind being a tester. You could look at it like that too. You pick a side. Um, Good stuff, man. Once again, great game, beautiful graphics. It's hard to find a lot of negative about it. There's still some bugs. Yes, there's still some jank, but overall, it's been a hell of an experience that I've been enjoying a lot, and I hope to enjoy as the years go by. I feel like the game people have gotten a little more softer with their judgments with the game. When it originally came out, a lot of people refunded it or just stopped playing it, and then as the updates kept going, they jump back on, and that's just the nature of the beast, right? That's the nature of humanity. Like, we're very fickle, especially video gamers, man. Video gamers are so fickle. They're so quick to call a game dead. They're so quick to jump on trends. They're so quick to dogpile and review bomb. They're so fickle. It must be incredibly infuriating to be a developer today and just have people bash your game for the most dumbest of reasons and then be very vocal about it too. Like, especially influencers, man. You get one popular influencer say one bad thing about your game, it can actually affect the sales. Like, that's fucking crazy, right? Like, that's why a lot of these developers, they kind of try to butter up influencers, which is a smart move, but it's also like, it sucks that we have to leave the fate of it sucks that I have to leave the fate of my company to 23-year-old Chad who just plays death matches all the time and doesn't have the patience to play something that requires skill. I have to leave the future of my company in the hands of him. That pisses me off. So I'm sure it would piss off some developers. Hopefully Chad likes it. Let's pray he does. Good stuff, hard to recommend. It's not like I said, if it's a game that you want to test yourself, difficult game that you have to put some time into, by all means, give it a shot, man. But if you're not one of those people and you just want to play something a little more fun and arcadey, you don't have much time to be dedicating into video games, then it's not for you. So you got to think about it like that. If you want to play something like, Battlefield, or I don't know, something that's close to Hell Let Loose, it looks really good. I was watching videos yesterday and I was like, this game looks fucking cool. Insurgency Sandstorm, fuck that game. Like, that game's so good. It's so good, but it's so hard, man. You got to keep your head on a goddamn swivel and just playing AI. I'm getting my ass handed to me, and then having teammates carry me the entire time, and I still get these petty points at the end of the match. Like, I killed like two AI, and everyone else carried me, and I still leveled up. I'm like, I don't even deserve that. Get that away from my face. Good stuff. Uh, See you guys later.